In the time it's taken for Marvel to reach its endgame and to keep going past that, in the time it's taken for the DCEU to rise up and die, we've seen the Conjuringverse continue to blossom. Loosely based on the real-life cases of paranormal investigators Ed Lorraine Warren, the Conjuring films pit their characters against all kinds of demons. Inner demons, outer demons, doll demons, goat demons, nun demons, crooked men, and all that demonic history reaches back almost 2,000 years. Before Ed Lorraine's latest and very possibly final case plays out in the Conjuring Last Rites, let's put the events of the Conjuring universe into chronological order. Though most of the Conjuringverse's action takes place in the 20th century, there are some seeds planted throughout history that go on to bear some pretty rotten fruit. In 304 AD, Saint Lucy of Syracuse is martyred by pagans. After they try to burn her but find her impervious to flame, they gouge her eyes out. And if you're wondering, hey, what'd they do with those eyes? First, what the hell is wrong with you? And second, we're gonna find out later, so stick around. Like and subscribe for more missing martyred eyeballs. The forces of hell attempt to send their first representative to Earth somewhere between the 5th and 10th century. In Romania, the Satan-worshipping Duke of St. Carta erects a castle in which he performs rituals to open a gateway to the underworld. He nearly succeeds, but the Catholic Church arrives just in time to stop the ritual and seal the portal using the blood of Christ. The church repurposes the castle as an abbey, believing that perpetual prayer on the part of the nuns is the only thing that will keep Valak, the demon the Duke was attempting to bring forth, at bay. But Valak, as we will come to learn, is nothing if not patient. Moving all the way forward to the 17th century, a Mexican mother is jilted by her cheating husband. In a fit of madness, she drowns her 2 young boys as revenge. God forsakes her, dooming her to roam the earth seeking children to replace her own. Her constant grief and acid tears earn her the name La Llorona, the Weeping Woman. Filicide is a pretty common occurrence in the Conjuringverse. 90 years later, the witch Bathsheba sacrifices her baby to the devil and commits suicide, but not before laying a curse on her land, dooming all that would try to take it. During World War II, Romania is attacked by Allied forces, and boy do they pick the wrong abbey to bomb. The blasts unseal the gateway to hell, and over the next decade, the nuns of St. Carta fall victim to Valak, who emerges and takes the form of a nun to blend in with the cloister. Heading west to California, dollmaker Sam Mullins, his wife Esther, and their daughter Annabelle, B as they call her, are in the process of fixing a flat tire when B is struck and killed by a car. This tragedy forces the Mullins into reclusion. In their grief, the Mullins pray and pray to see their beloved daughter again, but it isn't God that answers their prayers, it's a demon, who, after giving them a glimpse of little B, tricks them into transferring its spirit into a doll. No, the doll, Annabelle. Turns out, that demon's a real crappy house guest, attacking Esther and gouging her eye out. More eye shit! Shout out St. Lucy! See, what did I tell you? If you subscribe, you get more eyeballs, but you'll never get mine. That ends up being a bridge too far, so the Mullins call in a couple of priests to redecorate B's closet with Bible pages, and they seal the possessed doll inside. In that same stretch, teenagers Ed Warren and Lorraine Moran meet and fall in love immediately. You know, demonologist in training meets clairvoyant type stuff. Tale as old as time. Alright, enough of the cute music, back to the spooky shit. In 1952, the only 2 surviving sisters of St. Carta finally succumb to Valak's evil, and rather than give Valak the soul it needs to escape into the outside world, Sister Victoria hangs herself. The body is discovered days later by the delivery guy Maurice, aka Frenchie. Sister Victoria's death leads the Vatican to dispatch Father Burke to investigate, insisting that he bring along a postulant, Sister Irene, a nun who's yet to take her vows. The 2 enlist Frenchie to bring them to the Abbey of St. Carta, which has some pretty serious lawn ornaments.
They keep the evil in, not out.
Well, at least they're functional. Frenchie leaves Burke and Irene to their investigation, and it doesn't take long at all for the pair to discover that the evil that had been contained there has started to leak out. Valak plagues Burke and Irene, taking multiple spooky forms in an attempt to steal their souls, but with the help of the ghosts of the Sisters of St. Carta that held Valak back for all those years, the pair are able to recover the artifact necessary to reseal the gateway to hell, a vial containing the blood of Christ.
Holy shit. The holiest.
Though Valak does succeed in possessing Irene briefly, Frenchie uses some of the blood to cast it out. Valak dispatches him before attempting to reclaim Irene's soul, but she gives Valak a face full of Christ and it's back to hell for the demon nun. At least, that's what they think. See, Valak took out an insurance policy with Frenchie, hitching a ride out nestled safely inside of his soul, but Irene and Frenchie part as friends, Irene none the wiser to the fact that Valak is ready to go on one hell of a European vacation. Over the next 4 years, Valak uses Frenchie to commit murders of members of the church as they move west across Europe from Romania. It's a damnation sensation that's sweeping the nations. We catch up with them in France, where Frenchie has been hired as a caretaker at a girls' school. Unsurprisingly, he is très populaire with the students and faculty, especially Sophie and her teacher mom, Kate. He is less popular with the local delivery girl. Sacre bleu! Meanwhile, Sister Irene has become just a real great nun. See, she's good at truck, she's good at talk, she's good at none.
Grazie, sister.
She takes under her wing an American novitiate named Sister Deborah, who was sent away by her father to join the church. Irene connects with Deborah there, recounting her own tale of how she was sent away by her father after her mother was deemed insane, claiming to have divine visions. Irene is having visions of her own, as Frenchie appears to her in a dream asking for help. The next day, a cardinal from the Vatican arrives to inform Irene that Valak escaped the Abbey of St. Carta and asks for her help stopping it once again with her old pal, Father Burke. Just kidding, Father Burke is dead! Gone! A victim of cholera and probably the scheduling conflicts that kept Demi and Bashir from coming back to play the priest killed off in the opening scene. Irene and Deborah arrive at the scene of the most recent murder in Tarascon, France, where they deduce that Valak has possessed Frenchie. And yes, he does seem to be having a pretty rough go of it. Sophie too. She's seeing a lot of Valak lately and even opens a door at one point into a hallway of a house that seems to be a little out of space and time. We'll have to come back to that one. Irene knows she's closing in once Valak pops out of a newsstand to scare the hell out of her. That triggers a vision of the blinding of St. Lucy for Irene. We even get a little Empire Strikes Back moment where it actually looks like Irene is St. Lucy. Oh, I wonder what's gonna happen there. Watch another 30 seconds, you'll find out. Irene and Deborah seek answers at the Place des Papes, the Catholic Archives, where Irene's friend, Father Exposition, informs them that all of the victims have been descendants of St. Lucy. Irene realizes that Valak is after the eyes of St. Lucy, a holy relic which they suspect would give Valak unlimited demon power, and they discover the eye's last known location, the girls' school that Frenchie has been employed at and wandering the halls of at night like a freak. They arrive not a moment too soon. Irene tells Frenchie he's being ratatouille'd by Valak, which becomes evident quickly. We got him walking around choke slamming, we got demon goats, we got little French girls being tossed around like baguettes at the Sunday market. It's a fucking mess. But Irene and Deborah succeed in subduing Frenchie long enough to get to the eyes of St. Lucy first. Irene confronts Frenchie Valak with the eyes, but Valak plays possum and snags them for itself. And you haven't even seen its final form. That's right, Valak's going to go all out, just this once. Fueled by the power of the eyes of St. Lucy, Super Saiyan Valak immolates Irene, or at least it tries. But Irene has one last vision in which she realizes that she herself is a descendant of St. Lucy, getting a quick look at both St. Lucy and a distant relative of hers by the name of Lorraine Warren. Like that hallway shot of Valak earlier, this brief glimpse of Lorraine is also not coming from the year 1956, but in fact the future. But we don't have time for that right now. We got a movie to wrap up here. Irene prays for a miracle, and she gets it. Wine! Well, the transubstantiated blood of Christ anyway. But that does the job. Valak's hold on Frenchie seems well and truly broken. Zero chance of Valak having survived this latest indignity. A grateful Frenchie and his newfound family leave the school, and I have to stress, not Valak. Not Valak at all. Valak's back in hell. It's a sure thing. There's no way that we're ever gonna see Valak again. We jump forward 2 years to 1958. 12 years after Bee's death, the Mullins decide to reopen their doors, taking in Sister Charlotte and a group of girls whose orphanage was just closed down. Among the girls are best friends Linda and Janice, who suffers from polio. They're expressly told not to enter the Mullins' late daughter's room, but this is a horror movie and nobody listens to ominous warnings here. One night, Janice sneaks into Bee's room and finds her creepy-ass possessed doll. The demon eventually attacks Janice, throwing her down the stairs and putting her into a wheelchair. Soon after that, it is able to possess Janice by puking into her mouth. Janice and her demon friend go on a murderous rampage, absolutely eviscerating Esther Mullins, but Sister Charlotte gets the upper hand and locks Janice in the creepy Bible closet. Of course, Janice escapes through a hole in the wall and travels south to Santa Monica. But she's gonna need a change of identity, a new name. She settles on the name of the Mullins' daughter,
Annabelle.
Ed and Lorraine get married and put their interest in the supernatural to work as paranormal investigators. But their first case ends in failure, and whatever demonic entity escaped them that night will be back to haunt them one day. In 1970, Annabelle's doll comes into the possession of John and Mia Form, a young couple in Santa Monica getting ready for the birth of their first child. Mia's decorating her nursery with sort of terrifying dolls, and John decides he should get her the most terrifying one. It's not long after that we discover what Janice has been up to since escaping the Mullins farm. After she was adopted by the Higgins family, who live next door to the Forms, she joined a Satanist cult called the Disciples of the Ram. Along with another member of that cult, she sneaks into her adoptive family's home and murders them. Janice and her accomplice then enter the Forms' home and attack them. While the cops kill the male assailant, Janice grabs her old doll and kills herself while holding it, transferring the demon right back to where it started. As is always the case when that horrifying excuse for a child's plaything is around, the Forms are plagued by supernatural attacks. In researching the events with Evelyn, a bookstore owner, Mia discovers the demon is after her soul. The Forms priest, Father Perez, takes the doll with the intention of having Ed Lorraine Warren exorcise it, but the demon attacks and soon possesses him. Through Father Perez, the demon abducts the Forms' newborn, demanding Mia's soul in exchange for the child's life. But Evelyn, racked with guilt over causing her own daughter's death, sees this as a chance at redemption and sacrifices herself to the demon to keep Mia and her daughter safe. Thanks, Alfre Woodard! But Annabelle and the demon controlling her disappear into the night. That same year, Ed and Lorraine Warren are called in to assist with the exorcism of Frenchie, crossing paths with Valak for the first time. During the encounter, Valak shows Lorraine a gruesome vision of Ed's death. She locks herself into seclusion for 8 days after her premonition, giving Ed serious reservations about subjecting her to further investigations. 6 months after its encounter with the Forms, the Annabelle doll surfaces in a pawn shop, where she's purchased as a present for a nursing student named Debbie. And wouldn't you know it, Annabelle is still a terrible house guest, starting with passive-aggressive notes and ending up just being plain aggressive. So Debbie calls in the big guns, Ed and Lorraine Warren. The Warrens decide to bring Annabelle back home with them, but not without incident. Their car breaks down in front of a cemetery, and they realize the doll is a beacon for supernatural activity. With the help of their friend Father Gordon, the Warrens seal Annabelle away in their artifact room.
The evil is contained.
Yeah, not for long, Lorraine. Soon after, the Perrin family, Roger, Carolyn, and their 5 daughters, find the perfect home in Harrisville, Rhode Island. You know, the one the witch Bathsheba cursed forever and eternity almost 100 years ago. And as it turns out, vengeful witches can raise just about as much hell as demons, and the spirit of Bathsheba quickly wreaks havoc on the Perrins. Carolyn seeks out Ed and Lorraine for help, and with the telltale signs of temperature shifts, rancid meat smells, and mocking of the Holy Trinity, it doesn't take the Warrens long to surmise that, yep, this is a real-life demonic infestation. Though Ed is still reluctant to risk Lorraine's health, the two of them take the case. They set up a number of traps to catch the spirit on camera to prove to the Catholic Church that the Perrins are really being haunted, so they'll approve and perform an exorcism. And boy, do they prove it.
Nancy?
Yeah. The Perrins move into a motel, but the damage is done. Bathsheba succeeds in possessing Carolyn, forcing her to take 2 of her daughters back to the house to kill them. The Warrens arrive just in time to stop Carolyn from murdering one of her girls, but when they try to take her outside, her skin starts to burn. Bathsheba won't let her leave, forcing Ed to perform the exorcism himself. It doesn't stick right away. But with the 1-2 punch of calling the demon out by name, Bathsheba! And Lorraine using some magic hands to make Carolyn remember her family, they manage to cast Bathsheba out. And man, does Carolyn cast Bathsheba out. Boot and rally! The Warrens return home with another creepy keepsake for their creepy collection, and a lead on their next case, a certain horror going on in Amityville. Though for some reason, they don't actually get around to investigating it for around 5 years or so. Ed and Lorraine go out of town on another investigation, leaving their daughter Judy in the care of her babysitter Mary Ellen. With the same St. Lucie lineage as her mom, Judy is exhibiting signs of clairvoyance herself, like seeing long-dead priests at school. That afternoon, Mary Ellen's friend Daniela tempts fate and lets herself into the artifact room. She's trying to make contact with her father, who died in a car accident while she was driving, but the only one who responds is Annabelle. Can't you read, Daniela? Things go downhill quick. B. Mullins shows up on the Warrens' doorstep looking for her doll, and Daniela actually sees her dad, although, come on, we all know by now that neither of these ghosts are who they appear to be. Pair that with a bloody bride in a haunted dress wandering around, and you've got yourself a good old-fashioned super haunting. There's even a singing soft boy on the lawn, but the terrifying thing is that he's real. The only way to stop the evil spirits running rampant in the Warrens' home is to seal the Annabelle doll away once again. The girls get separated, with Daniela getting locked into the artifact room. She sees her father yet again, but doesn't quite get the closure she's looking for.
You did this to me!
No, she gets possessed and tries to murder Mary Ellen and Judy. Luckily, the footage of Frenchie's exorcism is enough to subdue her. Mary Ellen and Judy recapture the Annabelle doll, but the demon that controls Annabelle isn't letting go without a fight. It nearly steals Judy's soul, but with a little of that can-do Warren attitude, Judy holds the other spirits at bay just long enough to seal the doll from whence she sat.
The evil has been contained.
Back in Los Angeles, recently widowed social worker Anna Tate Garcia visits Patricia Alvarez, a troubled mother of two who the state believes may be an unfit guardian for her boys, Carlos and Tomas. She's locked the boys in a creepy closet, a Conjuring hallmark at this point, and the boys are so traumatized they don't even want to come out.
Close the door.
While in protective custody, Tomas wanders off into the night. When his brother Carlos goes after him, the two are confronted by the murderous Mexican mother from all those years ago, La Llorona. Later that night, the boys are found drowned in the river. In her grief, Patricia prays that La Llorona will take Anna's children and return her own. And while returning Patricia's kids doesn't seem to be on the table, a new pair of children to target is something La Llorona is very interested in. Chris and Sam, Anna's kids, are attacked by La Llorona, which drives Anna to seek help from Father Perez, who survived his encounter with Annabelle 3 years prior. He informs her that getting the Catholic Church involved will take time that Anna doesn't have, and instead points her to Raphael, a faith healer who abandoned the church years ago. Raphael's methods are a bit unorthodox.
Ta-da.
Like using the family you're supposed to be protecting as bait to draw out the spirit you're supposed to be protecting them from. Risky, but he does get results and actually banishes La Llorona from the house. That is until Patricia shows up and breaks the seal, keeping La Llorona out. The weeping woman nearly kills Anna's kids, but Anna goes into Slayer mode, and a crucifix to the heart is enough to stop La Llorona once and for all. Maybe, I don't know, demons are very resilient in these movies. Speaking of resilient demons, it's 1976 and Ed and Lorraine are finally getting around to investigating the murders made famous by the Amityville Horror. While in the house, Lorraine has the same vision of Ed's death that she had 5 years prior during Frenchie's exorcism, with Valak appearing to her this time, so she knows it means business. The next year, the Hodgson family, single mom Peggy and her 4 kids, begin to experience supernatural phenomenon at their home in North London. But it's the second oldest, Janet, who's seeing the weirdest stuff, like the ghost of the elderly Bill Wilkins, a previous tenant of the house who wants these pesky meatbags out of his home.
My house!
Probably so he can eat saltines and watch the news at full volume or something. Lorraine again sees a vision of Valak, who really just scares the crap out of her. She does get to ask it some questions this time.
Who are you?
The Warrens catch wind of the Hodgsons' plight, but this time around it's Lorraine that's reluctant to let Ed take the case, given her premonition. But they're the Warrens, so of course they're gonna put themselves into harm's way for others. Despite some evidence that Janet may be faking the possession, though we all know how dumb that is given all the spooky stuff going on, Ed and Lorraine discover that Valak is the one controlling the spirit of Bill Wilkins and tormenting the Hodgsons. This all leads to a confrontation with the Valak-possessed Janet. Ed goes in alone to save her, putting the first pieces of Lorraine's premonition into motion. But Lorraine realizes that during her vision of the demon nun, she had managed to write, stab, whatever, its name into her Bible. And as we learned during the parent haunting, demons hate their own names. So Lorraine goes into the house and identifies the nun as Valak.
The defiler! The profane! The Marquis of Snakes!
First of his name, King of the Andals, Supreme Leader, yada yada. She succeeds in casting Valak back to hell, saving Janet from possession and saving Ed from getting a tree trunk through the chest. That brings us to 1981, and the Warrens are overseeing the exorcism of young David Glotzel. Still working with their same video producer too, we love to see that. It goes bad. Lorraine has a vision of an occultist performing a ritual, David gets twisted around like a Glotzel pretzel, the demon gives Ed a heart attack, and it leaps into Arnie Johnson, the boyfriend of David's older sister, Debbie. who, if you're keeping track, is, yes, the third Deborah in the Conjuring series. While Ed's fighting for his life in the hospital, Arnie becomes convinced that Debbie's boss Saul is attacking her. Arnie kills Saul in a demonic haze and wakes up not remembering anything that happened.
I think I hurt someone.
Ed wakes up too and suspects that whatever demon had been possessing him has retreated into the shadows, leaving Arnie to face the death penalty at trial. But there ain't no rule in basketball says you can't put a demon on trial.
He's right!
And Ed Lorraine convince Arnie's very skeptical attorney to let him plead not guilty due to demonic possession by having her over for dinner to meet Annabelle.
Show me what you got.
Your Honor, my client pleads not guilty by reason of demonic possession.
Ed and Lorraine investigate the Glotzels' house for clues that could prove Arnie was possessed and come upon a witch's totem hidden under the house. Which witch's totem told them which witch was so dumb as to cross paths with Ed and Lorraine? Like that last sentence, it's not clear, but it points to a mystery Satanist who cursed the family with this interloping demon. Ed and Lorraine seek the counsel of Father Kastner, a retired priest who was working to dismantle the Disciples of the Ram cult, and around the same time Janice murdered her adoptive family in service of that same cult. Kastner big dogs the Warrens with an artifact room of his own and warns them that whoever the occultist may be, they should tread lightly.
A master Satanist is not an adversary to be taken lightly.
As they've likely cursed the Glotzels and Arnie, which is keeping the demon bound to our world until it gets its sacrifice. And how are things going for Arnie in prison during all this? Bad! The Warrens are called in by a homicide detective in Danvers, Massachusetts after a similar witch's totem shows up at a murder scene there. After confirming the occultist was indeed the culprit, Lorraine's able to warg into her mind by touching her victim's body, and just in time to stop her from killing Arnie. Dark Lorraine! Dark Lorraine! That comes with the downside of the occultist learning who Lorraine is, and she hexes Ed into nearly running Lorraine through with a kitchen knife by hiding a witch's totem of their own in the house. Lorraine travels back to Father Kastner's farm for help translating a passage which reveals the occultist must make 3 sacrifices to the demon she summoned.
The child, the lover, and the man of God.
Man of God Ed Warren figures out right around that time, using the power of triangles, that the witch's totems can all be traced back to the Kastner farm. That's where Lorraine is! No! Father Kastner tells Lorraine his tragic backstory. While he was busy chasing down Satanists, his daughter, Isla Kastner, was busy becoming one herself.
We must be careful how our obsessions are passed to our children.
He tells Lorraine she's got to break her altar to break the curse and tries to work up the courage to put an end to his daughter himself, but she gets the jump scare and puts an end to him instead. John Noble, ladies and gentlemen, one of our best. Isla again hexes Ed into attacking Lorraine while she attempts to complete the ritual. But Lorraine is able to get through to him with memories of their first meeting, and bada bing, that's the top prize on the board, folks. Ed breaks the altar and the curse, and the demon, hungry for a soul, breaks Isla Kastner. Though Arnie is convicted of manslaughter and serves 5 years in prison, he does avoid conviction on the murder charge and thereby the death penalty. 5 years later, in 1986, as Judy Warren and her boyfriend Tony Spera are getting serious, the Warrens are called to Pittston, Pennsylvania to investigate the haunting of the Smurl family. During the course of their investigation, they discover a connection to that first demon they encountered all those years ago. Annabelle is back to cause more mayhem as well, but how Ed and Lorraine's next case unfolds, especially with a title like The Conjuring Last Rites, is a big, ominous question. Like, miss me? Thanks so much for watching. Let us know what timelines you'd like to see us cover in the future here at IGN down in the comments. And for more on the Conjuringverse, check out my interview with director Michael Chaves about what we can expect from The Conjuring Last Rites. And as always, keep it right here on IGN.